kind of form for this is kind of just like a free for all here. So, if they
Yeah.
got anything, I mean,
What levels do we have here?
we got a lot
High
of people
school,
here. I
got
can't
some
get
youth.
everyone on the we got Josh. We know Josh. We got my buddy Fawn, who's in Fayetteville, North Carolina with me. He actually helps train my son a little bit and a little receiving. And Josh Matthews right below him there. He's also a Fayetteville guy. That Josh, you I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah.
You coach or no? There's other Josh here.
Okay.
There he is, Josh Matthews. There he is. He coaches what 10U, Josh? Is that what it was? I think you're muted. Your mic's not working. Sorry, there's two Joshes in here. I forgot about that. My fault.
Yeah. Oh, good. How many people? I mean, if it's not a lot of people, we can just go around and
I got 9
quick
in here. I got 9 in here right
Oh,
now.
cool.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, Jason, I was 8U, went to 9U, went to 10U. And this year we'll be going to 11U. I'm going up with my son. Our whole staff. We have a staff of 6 to 8 guys that go up.
Gotcha. And we got Robbie. He's an old guy that we've seen in a while. Haven't seen in a while. How you doing, Robbie?
Good. And yourself? Can you hear me?
Good, man. Good. How'd the season finish out?
We ended up 3-4.
3-4. I think you told me that before, and I just couldn't remember.
It's all right.
Raymond's here too. I see.
Raymond Dean, the house.
Yes, sir.
Nice.
And
Love it.
Ken, is it Beatty? Hey, he's got his mic on.
It's Beatty.
Beatty,
How
I'm
you guys
sorry.
doing
I'm sorry.
tonight?
How you doing? It's nice to see you.
Nice to see you guys too. It's my first time being in here.
Yeah, welcome, man.
I coach 12U out of Chandler, Arizona.
Nice.
Majority of our
Oh.
youth organizations feed into Chandler High School and Hamilton High School.
Good deal.
So
Chandler's like nationally ranked, right? Chandler's like a really big program out there.
yes. Chandler's nationally ranked. We just got another school out of Chandler as well named Basha. They're probably going to be nationally ranked next year as well. They actually beat Chandler in the state championship, but beat Saguaro this year in the state championship game. So a lot of teams
Nice.
are coming up this
Are
year.
they throwing the ball?
Yeah, they're throwing the ball a lot.
Those teams out there, the big teams are running the spread out there.
Yeah, they're running spread. We actually got one of the top QB recruits who just decommitted from Ohio State. He
Matt, how you been?
Yeah, good, man. I took this year off. I think I told most of you guys I took this year off to finally just focus on that app I just kind of announced last week. We finally got it to a point where we can start testing it with coaches. So yeah, it was kind of an interesting year. I got to kind of sit back and watch my son, who's a freshman, who I'd been coaching through that youth experience, the whole what brought me to you guys, trying to get him set up and myself set up back as a coach. But yeah, it was kind of a cool year. I got to kind of just sit in the stands and be a dad and just kind of work on this tool in the background. I got my off season 7-on-7 program and still training kids on outside of the tackle season. But yeah, it was kind of a different year, but I enjoyed it. It was kind of refreshing to not have to call plays on the weekend and just kind of like kick back and watch a game from a different perspective. So, I mean, I'm definitely gonna go back to coaching, but it was a good year. Honestly, it was
Are
pretty.
you going to go back to coaching next year? Is that what your plan is?
I don't know. I guess it depends on this app, right? Like,
Right.
if it's really busy and it's taken off like we think it is, then I guess it's kind of up in the air. I honestly, like, I've had some offers to coach high school out here, and my son is likely going to play varsity next year. So, like, my biggest thing is for the next 3 years, if I don't coach, I'll be all right. Like, I don't want to take a job and then miss his games for that.
Right.
I've already made my career in something else. Coaching is something that came back in my 40s, and I love it to death, and I've fallen back in love with football. But I definitely don't need to do it for these 3 years while my kid's in high school.
Yeah.
The only 3 years that he has left, right? Was my last son. So I'm cool if the app takes off and I got plenty to work on there. I'm more than happy to sit in the stands and cheer him on and maybe get back to tackle when he's out of high school.
Yeah, you're going to have more details of that app coming soon, though, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, if we run out of stuff to talk about, I don't want to just like come on here and steal a conversation and sell you 8 guys on testing it out. But yeah, I mean, it's right now we're going through 150 people applied to be in early access. And really they're going to be able to basically, we have like the 3 core features of this thing. Coach inputs his playbook, kid plays playbook, kid and coach get analytics behind how he performed. Those 3 components we've built, and then we want these 30 coaches that we're going to select to tell us, like, here's a feature that I would want. And I have ideas of what I want to add, but I also don't want to pretend like I know everything about football. So we'll let these 30 coaches kind of build out the really complex features, and once we add those things, we'll be ready to kind of get going. So happy to talk about that as much as you guys want, but
Yeah,
definitely
sure.
don't want to side track this conversation.
Gotta say hello to an old OG over there, Randy. How you doing, bud?
Good, man. How you doing?
Good, man. I haven't talked to you in a while.
Oh, yeah, man. It's been a good amount of time. We got Matt on here, everybody, man.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
You know who else was supposed to get on here? Another old timer, Facile.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
he just announced he got an OC job.
Yeah, I was
just gonna say,
congratulations.
yeah.
Congratulations to Facile. You got an OC at Chambers in Charlotte. That's big time program right there.
Is it? Oh, cool.
I was hoping he'd get on here so we could, congratulate him in person.
Yeah, I texted him the other day when he chimed in on that Facebook thread.
Yeah.
and he said he was going to come. So hopefully he jumps on. But yeah, we got to get him on. It would be good to.
Yeah, Chambers was it Fawn where they were in Josh? They were in the Randy. They were in the state championship. What, last year or 2 years ago against?
Who?
Last 2 years. Not
Yeah,
last year.
they're the premier program, I would
They
say,
are,
out of
they
North
are.
Carolina.
You said, what's the name?
Really?
They
Chambers.
They are one of the big time programs in
Yeah.
North Carolina.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
he's got a nice gig there.
Yeah, he definitely needs to use this tool then for sure. Like, it's made for OCs. That's the whole point of it. I gotta hit him up.
Hey, Matt, what's the name of the app?
Player book. It's just playbook with an R in the middle of the 2 words. It was available.com. I spent too many hours trying to figure out a gosh darn.com for that thing, but that's the best thing I got so far.
Just sent that to my offensive coordinator.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's basically just like the way it happened is like, how could I be myself, right? Not, but I'm in practice, I'm behind the quarterback before every passing play. Like, hey, how many safeties? Is the cornerback hard or soft? You know, how many how many overhang defenders? And it's just basically that. It's just in their ear. It's literally saying that to them before the play. And then they play the play out and they get scored on, like, did they choose the right receiver and how fast they did it. So it's basically like encompassing that transition from 10 seconds before pre-snap and then 4 seconds after, and then scoring it for you as a coach. So it's like, that's like every OC, that's what I'm building it for. So the
You have to
OCs, you
send
guys
me,
know.
you have to send me an early access to that. You showed me that video. It was
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, and it's gotten better since then. So yeah, just if you don't mind, just fill out that early access form. It's just like 5 questions. Just not that I don't have your information, but more to the fact that you'll just be on that list of people that I'm like,
And that is where again?
playourbook.com.
Play our book.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
play
I'll check it out.
and then R and then book. And then you'll see like the little splash page and just click that early access. I'm not charging for this thing yet. We're going to put those features that you guys tell us to put in first, and then we'll start charging for it.
Playourbook.com, correct?
That's right.
Matt, was that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. I'll make sure I got that right.
Randy, what's up with you, man? When you coached, you were head coach this year?
Yeah, man, I did. Still at the middle school, and I took a step back from the rec league and just did defensive coordinator for that. We had a magical run, man. We didn't give up but 1 touchdown all season, and that was in the championship game, which we won. And we scored a minimum of 28 points per game. We won the championship 36-6.
Oh boy, that's awesome. See, and they always talk about defensive coaches becoming offensive coaches and knowing how they think, but it goes both ways, I think.
Yeah, it does, man. It really does. And it's what really helped, man. When you get into, especially at the younger level of youth, they ain't got but a handful of plays. And if you take away what they want to do and make them do what they don't want to do, now I got you. Now you're going to do what I want you to do. And you playing into my hand, which is essentially what we did. You run jet sweep 1,000 times. If I stop you 1,000 times, now what do you got to do now? You got to go do something that you don't want to do.
Right. That's some Bill Belichick stuff right there, buddy.
Oh yeah.
Man, I put a lot of hours into studying it, so I hope it works.
Yes, sir. That's great, man. That's great to hear. Congrats.
Now, Matt, I don't know if many of you guys know. I had Fawn on here before. Fawn is a quarterback I would call guru, man. He coaches up and trains up the quarterbacks. He's got some good stuff on Facebook, and I like bring him in here to talk. And he actually we had a training session today. And I was asking him if he was coming, and he said, yeah. And I just asked him if he had anything they want to talk about. And Fawn, you said something about what was it? What would you say it was?
I was talking about installing plays at practice, like
Right. So you want to just kind of go through like installation of like how we all would do it kind of thing? Is that what you're kind of just
like just for instance, like say motion, the different motions.
Oh, just you want motions, or you want the just like how you would install the offense, like or where would you
The
start?
offense, no offense. That'll be better.
Okay. Anyone want to start off? I mean that's a
Well, man, the way we go about it, of course, I have a guy that I implemented into it as an offensive coordinator. But the way I tell him to go into it is, you get what you want to be good at first, right? So if you want to be an air raid team, all right, what are going to be your go-to calls? So let's say stick, shallow, and 4 verts, for example. All right, those are your go-to calls. So go start working on those. I don't know when you get a chance to get your guys and work with them. We get them. I get a chance to get my guys during the summer, kind of like the high school. So when I get them, when we get through the weight room part, we go outside. We start working on drills, but those drills tie into the plays. So you may have your quarterback doing throwing drills, but yet the receiver is running the stick route, and he's practicing. All right, 1, 2, 3, ball's gone. You know what I'm saying? So it's all in what you want to do. If you want to get up and move in linemen, I think whatever your core principle is for your offense and what you want to do, get that out the way first. So if you want to be an air raid team, get your guy that can get it out there. If you want to be a wing team and get linemen moving, find those linemen that can get up and move before you get on to, all right, I'm gonna just hand the ball off. And now you got this guy, he's going that way, all the way out there to block a corner. And now this guy is going to grab popcorn from the concession stands. And you follow where I'm going with it.
Right.
Now, Robbie, I remember I had you on a while back, and you went through some good installation stuff. I mean, I don't want to actually sit through an hour of it, but I mean, if you can give like the condensed version, it was good stuff.
Can you guys hear me?
Oh yeah.
I'm actually on my phone. I don't have internet where I'm at right now. So, one thing that we've done, and we're the same way, we get our kids, in the summertime, about 2 weeks before school starts, we actually sit down and break it up where skill kids, say for example, you're putting in your zone play, inside zone. Well, at the same time, you're putting inside zone with your skill kids, we have our offensive linemen also doing the same thing. So it kind of mirrors up. So if, as the offensive coordinator, if I walk over and I'm watching offensive line play, they're working on the same plays my wide receivers are working on and my running back and quarterback. So it's all mirrored all the way through practice. We tried, and we instituted this 3 years ago when I came in. It makes it a lot easier for even, somebody just watching practice. They know they're working inside zone, or as coach said, if you're working on stick, everybody's working on stick. So if it's 60 protection, 68 stick, the offensive linemen are also working on 68 protection while the receivers are working on the concept. So it all just mirrors up together all the way through practice. We try and get it all done in 3 days. Kind of like Coach Bummy talks about, you just carry on all the way through. But in the first day, we put in inside zone, we put in our slow screen, and we put in either a 60 or a 90. And this is middle school kids. So there's 3 concepts taught a day. So by the end of day 3, you've got 9 to 10 concepts put in. So when I get internet one of these days, I'll send Jason the stuff.
Well, it's actually, I think the video is actually linked to my YouTube channel. You can probably just go and watch it. I mean, it's what, an hour and a half long we sat there and talked about it?
I think so.
And then so he goes a lot deeper than that. How about we'll go Josh from Oregon. How about that? You got anything on an install?
Install. So I start everything out of 2x2. So if I'm running smash concept, a lot of my routes are all the same. So if I'm installing smash, my 1 and 2, let's just say we're running smash on the right side. My 1 and 2 receivers on the left will have an option route. Number 1 will have a slant fade option. Number 2 will have a seam post option. And then number 2 on the concept side has the corner. Number 1 has the hitch. And then when I go into trips, nobody's route changes. So if I'm trips, number 1 still has the hitch. Number 2 has the corner. And then my number 3 will have that seam post option. So all of my concepts, everybody has the same routes except for even Y cross. I just call it, because we don't run that out of 2x2. We just call 6, like trip 6, and that's our Y cross. And then we can add out of motion. So we'll go 2x2, and then we'll install it out of trips. And then we'll go from 2x2 with motion to trips. And then like coach said, everybody's running the same thing at the same time. I'm spoiled now. So we have 3 cameras set up. So when I watch practice film, we can watch all 3 sections. Yeah.
What level do you coach?
What's that?
What level do you coach?
High school now.
Nice.
We had it nice this year. We found one of our coaches was during our practices flies a drone.
Oh yeah. So that's what I used to have to do.
Some of that bird's eye view of practice is just, man, it is impressive. Just trying to get the views of that, and it's impressive there. So I know
Yeah,
you are with
before-
the cameras. That's nice.
Where I was at before I came here, that's what I would do. I would fly the drone because I didn't have a kid or anybody that would do it. They were all too nervous. And then the guy that would help install the offense, he would call offense.
Right.
And then I would fly the drone and yeah, that bird's eye view stuff is good though.
Now as far as me, installation now, I'm basically the same as what the guys said, I'm trying to install a run. I usually try and pair a run and screen together kind of thing while the running back and the O-line are working on like zone. I got the wide receivers working screens, and then we'll put that together because we'll pair a screen with a run, doing a quick game, trying to do a drop back. I didn't really use too much drop back, but as far as motion fun, what I would do is once everything was installed, I would save a special time for motion. I wouldn't put too much motion in other than just the jet and maybe just like a little shift motion where we would shift from 2x2 to 3x1 and vice versa. And before we did the motion, I would have the ones and twos out there just going kind of through a walkthrough. And I'd say, okay, if we call stick over here, what is your route? We'd go one by one, they would tell us the routes. And then we'd go, okay, shift to early. What's your route? And then they would say, okay, so now get back into 2x2, H, shift over, and now we're 3x1. We're running stick. What's your route? So they would just know, okay, now that I shifted to this way, now, okay, it changes. And they would have to be able to tell me. If they couldn't tell me, then obviously there was a consequence for it. And they would have to figure it out and learn. So we would rep that without any kind of walk, any kind of run and just walk through it. What's your route? What's your route? And the rules always were for me was outside of 4 verts, my H was my shifty guy, the guy that would move around a lot. So he would always, if we go into early or later, any kind of 3x1 set, he would always replace essentially the route of the running back, almost like the swing. So, in 3x1, he would always run the flat route. So he would know that. And the running back would always, in the 3x1, when it's early or late, would always swing away from the trips. So he always knew that was his job. If any H player was in the H position, he knew that 3x1. Okay, all of a sudden my route has changed. Outside, the only route that didn't change was 4 verts. He was running that crosser. So that's how I handled it, especially with motion. And then once they got the basic motions, and then little by little, you just add a little bit more.
Right. Almost like a tag.
Yeah. So little by little, we would add like a fast motion to it, and like we call it a jump motion, where we would motion the H into the backfield and things like that. We'd get a little bit more fancy with it as one, but those basic motions, that's how I handled it. I would have everything installed, and once they knew that, then introduce a little bit of the motion. So I don't know about anybody else. Other Josh, how did you handle any kind of install?
For us, at the youth level, it's just a lot of repetition. So what I try to run it exactly like a high school. So we go right in individuals, but we do individuals and kind of like Skelly type stuff for about 75%, because these kids just need reps and development. So everything we do, the way I like to break it down is similar to like the 3-play set, but I like to do I'll do a play side play, a backside play, and then the third iteration will be a play action off of it. With youth, a lot of these teams are super heavy run, especially where we're from in Fayetteville. The whole area is heavy run. So everything I want to do, I ran out of flex, and then we'd shift into like a 2x2 or an empty. So a lot of things that I did was we would do like a midline or a veer, then to a counter, then to a waggle. And that was a lot of what I did, but it's very similar. Like I said, we try and run it like a high school, mainly individuals, because these kids need reps.
Ken, any thoughts? You got any install thoughts that?
Well, yeah. This past season, I was the head coach for 11U team, and we committed ourselves to the air raid. This year we went 10-0 in the season. We didn't give up a touchdown during the season, but we lost a close one in the championship game. But we did fairly good. And the way we installed it is kind of like what you guys are saying, a lot of reps. But I also coached a little bit of high school ball. I coached out at St. Mary's and Centennial High School out here in Phoenix. And we also ran a airway type scheme as well. And what I focused on with our kids was I didn't have a lot of kids playing multiple positions. So if they played the X and the Z, that's their position. If they play the A and the Y or whatever terminology you guys use, that's what they play. And with my installation, I had to see what type of personnel did I have. Did I have the big tight end type Y, or did I have a speed type Y? This year was more speed. I had a lot of speed. So I played my speed inside, and we installed everything, having all the kids going throughout their reps individually, knowing their positions, getting fundamentally correct. And everything that we did it wasn't a lot of individual time. It was a lot of group work, to a point where if a defense came out in a certain alignment, our kids automatically know based off of their alignment who's getting the ball type deal, because we repped it so much in practice that they automatically knew how to pick it up. Also, we repped something that I picked up before the season started was game plan in the field. We did a lot. We had certain plays in the middle of the field, certain plays in the red zone, certain plays when we're backed up. So that helped out a lot too, because after watching that, I saw that video on YouTube. After watching that video, they mentioned that the kids will start to pick up on what plays we're going to call based off of what area we're on the field on. And they actually did. And it helped me out a lot, because even when I make mistakes, I have my quarterback coming to the sideline. No, coach, we can't do that. You know, we practiced on this play, on this side of the field. So let's just try this, stick to it. And, you know, he was right. So I was lucky to have a good coaching staff this year that helped out a lot. And I'm just looking to know more. What my main thing is, I want to clean up some of the things that I felt looked a little bit off this year, like our alignment in certain formations with the spot receivers and stuff like that. Our splits with the offensive line, that's something that I would like to know with a 12-year-old group. Those are just the little things that when we did have issues with, we had people in our backfield because maybe our splits was too big, or maybe we could have took advantage more of our inside zone scheme by widening our splits a little bit. So that's one thing that I'm looking to learn tonight.
That's a interesting point, because that was something I was thinking about that while you were talking. Is that, you know, and speaking with many youth coaches, you get a lot of guys at the youth level that had never coached before, or they're just coming into the game. They've been under somebody and they see something on Sunday or Saturday. Hey, we're doing that. We're running that offense. Like, use the TCU thing, for example. They beat Michigan. All of a sudden, everybody wants to be a power air raid team and a 3-3 stack team. Time it went south and Georgia overpowered them. Oh no, I can't do that no more. Yeah, we just can't. We can't run that. But it's the same concept. When you come into it, so say you're taking over a team, I can't come in and just say, hey, you know, I'm an air raid guy, we're running this. But you got a bunch of kids that ain't never suited up before. That kid ain't never threw a ball before. This kid ain't never threw a ball. He ain't never caught a ball. He's never done anything. And now you're sitting here and you're forcing your offense with some kids that's not going to thrive in this offense. Now, I'm not saying you change your philosophy. If you're an air raid guy, then that's what you are. But you got to tailor that around what you got. Like, if I want to play a 3-4, but I don't have the size lineman that you need for that, you know, you got to come back and you got to tailor what you're doing to whatever it is that's in your playbook and go from there. And a lot of the times you meet a lot of people who don't do that. They just come, oh, we're air raid, we're going to be an air raid team, and now you're throwing 20 picks. This kid's dropping it because he's scared to go over the middle, and it's a mess because it's then you get a lot of guys that really don't know how to teach it because they don't put in the study time. There's so many people that I've met that have come, and like Jason and Matt and all, I learned a whole lot from them as far as the air raid and Robbie and all of those, Mike, and you'll meet with them and talk to them and they'll show you their stuff, and it's just like, it literally looks like a copy from Madden. Like that, and that's not an exaggeration. It's like a whole rundown of Madden. It's like, yeah, we're gonna run these plays here, and do you understand why? Do you get why? Are you really putting in the time and effort to understand what goes into the calls, which is something that I do, but I'm defensively. I'm a Clemson fan. I like Brent Venables, and I like his style because that's my style, a lot of blitz heavy stuff. I done seen our game tapes 1,000 times, but I go back and watch it just to understand. All right, why did at the time who was he at the time? He went to USF. I can't think of his name now. He's an offensive coordinator. Why did he call this at this moment? Why all right, now you get to the third quarter and that same play comes up, or what looks like the same play, and now it goes in for a touchdown. Oh, okay, now I understand. Or you come back defensively. Well, wait, why didn't he blitz on this play? All right, now you come back a couple plays later, and now you're in the same scenario, and now he sends a blitz, and the blitz doesn't get picked up. So I just think, man, when you understand what it is you got, which I'm not saying that you don't, I'm pretty sure you do, understand what you got and implement it that way. So once I want to install something, can my kids handle it? Can they go past full vert, stick, and shallow? Can they comprehend what goes into this stuff? Because oftentimes, most people don't think about that at the younger level. And we face guys like that every week. They're running jet sweep and they're getting blown up in the backfield before the play is even over because they ain't taught their linemen how to block.
Matt, you got anything on this? He's still there. There he is.
No, it's all good stuff, man. This is a topic that I've been thinking about a lot lately because, you do hear about coaches that try to change, and some say, no, I'm not changing. And some say, I'm going to change every year based on, I guess everything in an extreme circumstances is maybe not the way to look at it, but I think it's hard to do. Right. So, there's probably a happy balance, but I don't know. Like, I don't know that many coaches personally. Maybe I haven't done enough high school coaching. I don't know enough youth coaches that I don't know that if they can confidently, like, from one year to another, be a running team or be a passing team or like change with the personnel, at least at a high level. So I guess it's kind of like somewhere in the middle, right? Like if I'm an air raid team, based on personnel, I'll turn into a power raid team more one year versus the next where I throw more the next year. But yeah, I don't know. I've been kind of playing with this idea of like, could I be as proficient in wing T as I am at air raid? I don't know if that's possible. I guess it's just a matter of like study. So I don't know.
I think it's possible. It just goes into just studying and how you can marry the two together. I'm pretty sure somebody's done it somewhere. There's only so much stuff in football that you can run that ain't nobody done or attempted to do already. So it's a matter of learning it and seeing where you can tie stick into buck sweep.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, it's a great conversation to have. I guess if we taught ourselves air raid in a year, then why couldn't we teach ourselves wing T in a year? I mean, so I guess it's more about effort and wanting to do it.
Who wants to learn wing T though?
I mean, that's what we all grew up running. So yeah, I mean, that's great.
No, I have to study it a lot though this year because we have like two schools that are pretty good in our conference that run it. And I'm actually calling defense last year and this year coming up. So I got to learn a little bit more about it.
Josh, you said what everyone else I think was thinking. So
yeah.
I think with us, I'm sorry. I think with us, I kind of kept my coaches from getting ahead of themselves because at the end of the day, our kids are 11 years old. They're not high school kids, and we don't have our kids 6 hours a day. So our main thing was keeping it as simple as possible, keeping it as simple as possible, and being flexible based off of what we see, and kind of like just teaching the kids, walking through a lot of stuff on the field with the kids so they can understand what we want them to see on the field so they can come back to the sideline with some valuable information. And the information that they bring back to you, it could be so basic, but it's so huge on the field because it may just take one adjustment to pop everything open. So we try to not throw the whole kitchen sink at them, the first year of us doing the air raid, we kept some of our old basic concepts that we had in our run game still. So now we're ready to progress because our kids are learning how to make better reads on the field. So we just kept it simple as possible. I think we're gonna do the same thing again, but add little things here and there to our playbook for them.
You know, we've always told the kids, if they can come back and teach us what's going on, they understand the concept. You know, if you're running 6 and then you're going to put shallow with it, do you really need to put shallow with it, or can you put a read route? For example, if we called 97, which is our 6 call, if we called 97 Y out or Y option, can he run the options we want him to run and come back and tell us as coaches on the sideline, the end's open, the out's open, or the up's open? You know, just little things like that. If he can come tell us, hey, coach, the out's open. Okay, you understand what you're supposed to do on out, then you can run the out. But I think if they come back and can tell me on the sideline, hey, this is open, and they're using the vernacular and the terminology that we use as coaches, they understand the stuff and you can turn them loose.
I agree with that. I agree 100%.
You know, it's kind of like Matt's call. If you guys get on his stuff, you know, when he has 4 verts on there and he has, Coach Fleming calls it a fallout route. You know, you sprint for so long, then you fall out to the sideline. It's kind of a bench route type of stuff. If kids at our age, you know, 7th and 8th graders can come back and say, I can run the fallout and it's open, then you can turn them loose on that stuff.
Hey, have you guys ever seen that video? It's Mackey and Patrick Taylor, Coach Taylor. And Taylor's breaking down how he runs 6. And this literally, I seriously watched this video probably countless times before my first air raid year, because I was like, you know, excited, but also like, shit, you know, how this fucking actually works.
Is that the one
And
with the whiteboard? Where he's on the whiteboard with him?
he had a whiteboard one, and
Yeah.
then he played some film of him at 7-on-7, and he literally, what he does is he just has a day, like they'll have a real game against a real opponent, another school, and they just run the whole day, just 6.
Yeah, I did see
And
that.
at first, the coach calls the tags for each player, but eventually these quarterbacks are literally going up and down the field. The play is 6, and they get on the scrimmage, and then they just do hand signals to their receiver. Each receiver, if they want to run a tag route, if they want to tag a route on it, and literally it's just what you're talking about. But he has enabled these kids to be able to see the defense at the line of scrimmage, and then look at the X and give the hand signal for out, or, you know, shallow or whatever. So it's pretty cool, man.
So that team that we took to Florida, we had hand signals for every route, for like a slant, a corner, fade, hitch, stop and go. And it came to the point where the quarterback would just, like, I would call a play and he'd get to the line and audible out or change routes up. And he'd go down and score. And I'm like, hey, can we like run a play that I call now? He's like, no, we're good. I'm like, damn.
I had a question. When you guys are installing your systems with your youth offensive line, what splits are you guys using?
When I coached middle school, when I was a head coach, my rule is around 2.5 to 3 feet. And that's basically, and almost to the point where if they just reached out and were able to be on their shoulder pads, that was good enough. Because you notice that each year, or as the year progressed, it kept getting closer and closer and closer. So you have to, it's a constant reminder to spread out, split. Rule for me was about 2.5 to 3 feet.
Yeah, we'd start being pretty strict with 3, and I'd try to hold my O-line coach accountable for it, so I didn't have to yell at the kids about everything. But it ended up being around 2 by the time the season got rolling.
It kept moving in and in. You kept constantly every day. It'd be a battle. Just check your splits.
We just do the knuckle bump like Jason was saying. We just stretch your arm out straight and knuckle bump the buddy beside you, and that was the split. And like you said, you start 2 days, you just have it, we call it check, check, and they just stick their arms out. And they know every time they stick their arms out, that's how far.
Just
So-
what I would do is, really those first couple days really hammer it out about the splits and have them do like almost that hand thing. I mean, eventually it becomes second nature. You do it enough the first week, it becomes second nature.
Yes.
Hey, Jason, I didn't run inside zone at all, and I still haven't learned it well enough to teach it. But it sounded like someone asked earlier, since you do run inside zone and you've done it at the youth level, did the splits help open that up? Did you notice one way or another?
No, again, one of my older videos that I did on my channel, again, especially with the youth level, the gap that would really open up for me once I figured it out was basically like that C gap where the play side tackle. That's where we would hit that run a
Off
lot
tackle.
more, because once we realized that, hey, our tackle was trying to reach block that defensive end, and every time he tried to reach block him, the guy would just go right by him. So instead, we told that tackle, you know what? Why don't you just pass set him, pass pro him, and take him wherever he wants to go? And that's where we would hit that run. We'd hit that run right behind it and let him just run himself down the field. And so, I mean, the splits didn't really matter because we knew, if we called inside zone, that's where we were hitting that run almost 90% of the time. That's where it was going. So really,
That's what we
splits didn't really matter because 9 times out of 10 we weren't hitting that through the A gap.
What was your adjustment against a 3 technique?
Against
your
the 3
play side.
technique, well, he would block inside. His rule as a tackle, he would never. Obviously, the rule is inside. We had a simpler rule of inside, head up, outside. That was the number one rule we had to follow, no matter what run we were running. It was just a simple rule for kids that age to understand. Do I have anybody inside of me? I got to protect the inside first. So that was just a simple rule we went with there. So if he had somebody in the B gap and if he had someone lined up in the B gap, then he's going to be blocking that guy first.
They're a base shotgun triple option team. So for that dive play, when we hand it off through the C gap is where we normally hit it, because most of the teams we face are a heavy box team. So they're gonna look to clog the middle up and stop the middle runs. You hand it in here, you hand it off, hit it towards the A. Almost every time you have to bounce it and hit the C, and it's a big game. And you do that a couple of times and pull it. Now you got the quarterback and the running back coming around that corner. But see, this year we're going to take it a little bit further and give him the option to, if he pulls it now, he's going to be able to throw it. We're going to have a really athletic kid at quarterback that's coming in, and we feel like he can handle that. But, man, when that triple option is running, it's running. That's what our high school we feed into run. I personally don't really care for it, but it makes them happy. I mean, I don't have to run it, but again, it makes them happy.
It is pretty when it works. I do like the look of it aesthetically, but
I describe
it
it
myself.
I describe it as a 3-pointer. 3-pointer when it's working, ain't really too much you can do. Ain't no in between. But when it ain't working, it ain't working, and that's part of the high school system. They will triple option you to death. I mean, they're state championship winning coaches. I can't tell them otherwise. So
Yeah. Well, before I brought Air Raid to our youth program, we feed De La Salle, and I won with our 8U team, with my son's 8U team. We went undefeated with triple option. I love it. That beer is nasty, but when I found Air Raid, and the funny thing is, like, when I found Air Raid, I'm like, oh, it's kind of like similar conceptually. Obviously, it's quite a bit different to run, but there were a lot of similarities to me that I'm like, oh, okay, this makes sense because of that. But yeah, with younger levels, I mean, when I put together practice plans for like 8U, 9U teams, we're running. That's basically the run plays. It's not so much counter because those kids can't pull. It's more about, like triple option right, dive off, tackle, quarterback keep, or pitch. And we call it. We didn't let them read it, but we call it right after seeing what we see as coaches. Dive, 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 and then do a couple quarterback keeps once you got them set up, and then you layer in the pitch later in the season. It's a pretty good offense for that 8 goal.
So just air raid too, man. You master the air raid at the youth level, man. You'll be a really scary team, considering most teams don't know how to cover the pass. They'll play a simple cover three in most corners at the youth level. That's the kid they put on the field to mask because most teams ain't gonna
Hide
throw
him.
it. But now you're throwing it. Now you got to take a kid and put him out there, and he's lost, and that kid's lost, and you're slinging it and running the screw up. And now you're gonna make everybody in the league want to run the air read.
I saw with our inside zone scheme, we tried to run our inside zone to the 3 technique as much as possible. So the play side A gap hit a lot for us. When they
What level again?
Say that again.
I'm sorry. Just what level are you at again? So I can
11
frame it
U.
in my 11 you into. You seeing like a lot of bear fronts with the nose tackle out there? That age?
I see we actually see a lot of 4-4 cover 3.
Nice. That's awesome.
We see a
Yeah, sorry.
we
I
see
didn't
a
mean to-
lot
I
of
didn't mean to
4-4
interrupt.
cover 3.
I
No
like
problem.
4 verts. That's all I heard.
Right, all day. So, but when we did run the inside zone, we ran it at the 3 technique as much as possible. So the play side A gap was open for us a lot. We just told our running back, if the A gap gets cloudy, go ahead, cut it back. So that was his cutback, his okay to cut back if the A gap was cloudy. If they set the 3 technique to our running back side and had the 1 technique play side, then we ran pin pull, and pin pull was a good scheme for us because when we went 20 personnel, we turned our pin pull scheme into counter with the 20 personnel, with the kick out and lead through with the fullback. So that was easy for our kids to learn, and we only ran 2 run schemes, inside zone and pin pull, and that was it. So I was just interested to see did the splits opening up your inside zone a lot, or how did it work for you? Was it kind of like 50-50? Not really.
For me, with inside zone was always, this was another thing when we first started installing inside zone. Again, just like with the motion I talked about earlier, once we explained it, once we had the lineman, had the line coach explain it and blocking schemes, then we could get together almost in team or group setting. The receivers probably wouldn't be there, but it'd be the running backs, quarterbacks, the line, and then we'd have we'd set up like probably around a front 7 and say, okay, we're gonna run zone right, and set them up with a 4-man front. And we were all about trying to find those double teams. We wanted to find as many double teams as we could with the inside zone. So I said, okay, where's the double team? Where's double team here? And then we shift around and get to a 3-man front or a 5-man front. And we would rep that. And that would almost be like an everyday drill where we would rep, okay, it would be like a 5-minute period. Just even if it was individual with the line, they would go through that mental portion of it. It's like, where's your double team? And that was just for inside zone. Obviously for counter or pin and pull, that you don't have that. But that one thing for inside zone, that's one thing that we did that helped us a lot, is because we wanted to locate those double teams. And then once they located that double team, what was their job? Their job was to carry that double team block, that combo block up to the near side linebacker.
Right. Right.
So that's one thing that we did every single day with that. And we turned it into an everyday drill where, because inside zone was one of our staple runs that we would use. We only carried like 4 runs. So, we had time to do it and time to rep it. So that was 5 minutes. They were, with Indy, just 5 minutes. Okay, let's go through this real fast. Because we know we see a 5-3 coming this week. We rep that a bunch, and then we would still go through the other fronts just in case, but just so they knew it and stayed fresh. But that's how we would do it, just so they understood it. And that was a big thing for me, is just where are the double teams for the inside zone.
Okay. All right.
But the one thing that helped me too is eventually once I got the motion stuff in, the only time I ran, every time I ran inside zone, I was running the jet sweep with it too. So either I was running the jet, handing the ball off, or pop passing, or I was faking the jet and running the zone behind it. And that opened up a whole bunch of other holes, because then I started getting linebackers moving horizontally because they didn't know if it was going to the jet guy or if it was going to the running back. So then only time, I was always running the jet with the zone.
Right. Right. Were you seeing a lot of bear front teams when you're running that jet?
No, it was mainly 4-man fronts. Maybe it was. I saw a ton of 4-4,
Yeah, that's what we see too.
ton of 4-4, and so that's why I knew I wanted to move those linebackers.
Okay.
Because if I get move those linebackers, especially if I say, for example, I wanted to run, because one thing that really hit for us last time I coached middle school was we would run jet right, zone left, or fake jet right, zone left, and we just fake the jet, get linebackers all flowing one way, and then that left tackle, we would just have him pass set that defensive end, and there was that hole right up the C gap, and we would hit that so many times. So that was one thing that really worked for us. But just doing that simple little drill every day for us was just for inside zone was just locating those double teams. That was huge. That was huge. They understood it and they could tell us. They could just sit there and point. There's my double team. There's my double team. So that was one thing that was big for us.
Gotcha.
At some point, someone needs me to teach me pin and pull, the rules behind that. Probably not today. I gotta get rolling here in about 5 minutes, but
Yeah, I got
at some point we're gonna follow back. Who was that said that? Just so I have names. Ken, was that you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Kenny.
Okay, right on, Ken. I'll hit you up on that. I want to learn.
No problem. No problem.
Well, again, I mean, we've been on for what, an hour and a half. Has anybody else got anything else?
I guess, I mean, I'm sorry, I don't want to cut anybody off, but I guess, the alignment, are you guys setting your slot receivers on the hash or are you going halfway to the hash? Because I had a quarterback this year that if we're running some type of inside zone scheme with a key 2 or key 3, he couldn't get the ball all the way out there to the hash if we're on the left hash because we're using high school hash marks. So
my
you guys
typical,
align.
especially middle school, was my slot receivers. If I was in 2x2, they could eyeball it 5 to 7 yards off the tackle.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
And eventually, you have to show them that obviously in the beginning, but then after you rep it, they know exactly where to go.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
that was our rule. We weren't lining up on hashes, anything like that. It was just, I mean, like you said, it was that's a long distance, especially to throw a lateral ball. Laterally,
Right.
it's just, that's a long distance for a middle school kid.
Right. Absolutely. That's basically what I was. Oh, and also too, sorry.
Now you good?
Are you guys running shallow to the field and cross to the boundary? Because that's some of the things I've heard on some of these air raid sites. How are you guys running that?
Well, for me, I'd run both of them to the field, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, because for me, the progression for cross would be that speed out first,
Mm-hmm.
and then I think for progression,
Speed out, cross, then the dig backside.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I'd want as much space as possible. So to let that to give that time for that route to open up. So I mean, I'd run both of them to the field, honestly.
It's interesting. Did they talk about reasoning running the cross into the boundary? That's an interesting idea. I'd never heard that before.
They said it's an easier throw for most right-handed quarterbacks is the boundary throws.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, yeah, I guess you're limiting the once he gets, if you're throwing it to the field and once he gets across the center line, that's a far throw. Now you're dropping it 20 yards diagonal, and that kind of limits it. That's actually not a bad idea. I gotta think about that. I'd never thought about that, but yeah, especially at middle school, right? Like,
Right.
limit the amount of open grass they're just throwing into, because that's kind of like one of those placement balls. That's a hard throw, and even in 7-on-7, we struggle with that one. But it's fun. I have it. I just it's tough for them. But that's good. I might shrink it, and that's the whole reason I do it with our tunnel screens. I only throw tunnel screens to the boundary because otherwise those linemen aren't going to even have a chance to impact it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it also helps me not worry about tunnel screen throughout the whole game, but it reminds me when I'm on the boundary, okay, this is my boundary play, right? So that's another way I can kind of frame cross, because I haven't really found too much success in tackle with that play, but that's interesting. It's a good tip.
Yeah, I've never heard that either, but I mean, it got me thinking. But I mean, for me, I just want more space. I mean, I understand it'd probably be a long throw, but I want more space, and more space, the more chances for that route to pop open. So that's my way. That's my way of thinking.
My answer to that is I ain't giving your quarterback that much time to let that develop. So
I knew that was coming from you. Yeah.
Yeah, for me on the youth level, I throw a lot into the boundary exactly for the reason that he's saying. We try to teach our linemen as best as possible, but we don't play like a regular youth schedule. We play like a national. So like we travel to Georgia, we travel to Virginia, we travel to Maryland.
Nice.
So we play top teams in the nation or I guess you could say at the youth level top teams. So when we're doing that, like a lot of the stuff is the, hey, flood an area or get them out so that we can get the ball out quick. It's quick 3-step, 1-step, pick plays and stuff like that into boundary. And then we have really good athletes, so they get into space.
Yep.
Good deal.
What,
Anybody else
what
got-
age are you coaching, Josh?
I've coached 8U to 10U, and then this year I'll be going to 11U. We move with our kids all the way up.
And
You said you're in
For those-
Fayetteville, right?
yeah, I love that. That's
Yeah.
so cool. We don't,
Yeah.
in our program, you kind of stay put. But they're not, I guess it's not the foundation, like Pop Warner that has these national things, or is it like a literally travel tournament team that you have? How does that work for you guys?
It
Or
would
what
it would
kind of-
fall battle was more of a brand, but yes, we were a battle team, essentially a battle team. It was called
yeah, you go
AYF.
to those.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we're in AYF too out here in Arizona.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
Fayetteville, like,
our
wow.
AYF league isn't very strong. So what we do is we find the independent league, the independent teams that go to all the battle tournaments, and that's why we go up and down the East Coast.
Yeah, no, we got invited to the battle one a couple years ago with one of my 8th grade teams. But yeah, I was always just curious because some of those teams like OG Ducks, I guess is like the big name out in the West Coast, right? And everyone's like this LA, so we're in the Bay Area, so it's like a different state. But essentially, like when I was researching it, I'm like, what are these teams? Like, are they in leagues? Are they only doing travel circuits? So it's just interesting to hear the different types and how people have found it. But it makes sense. That's cool. And kids,
a
but
lot of those teams, them all-star teams, like they're teams that
exactly what they are.
They'll play a regular season, and then like all the best kids off those teams form one team and go play nationally.
I think that's how a lot of it works.
So what we did was we were battling. We had a lot of in-city battling. Like we wanted to be national, but we were fighting with 2 other organizations. So we just said, give us your best kids. And these national games are tune-up for the AYF, because then AYF, if you keep winning, you keep going. So you have your league, then you have your state, then you have your region, then you have national. So your league really isn't that strong. I don't know how it is in Arizona, but ours isn't very strong.
Well,
Yeah, our
that's a
league-
bigger topic, right? Like there's like every town now has 3 youth teams where we are. It's like everyone's just getting watered down on each. Like, what's the point? Just because the dad wants to own his own team.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's exactly what it
Like-
is.
I think we have
Crazy.
over 10 in Fayetteville. Because you have
That's silly.
You have rec teams like pretty much every 3 minutes down the road, and then you have a couple teams that want to do AAU, or you have teams that want to do AYF, or teams that want to be independent. So there's all these different leagues. So everyone jumps in a league. They say they're the best in that league to recruit, and that's just it's a pain.
All right, fellas, I got to bounce. I just wanted to say, hey, before I got off here to you guys face to face, but hey, let's
Matt, real
let's
quick,
get back
what-
on here soon.
Matt, real quick before you leave, remember that stud running back you had?
Yeah.
Your last, what is he in high school now or?
So that team just played for state this year. They're juniors. That quarterback is a junior this year that I had.
Yeah,
He's a junior this year and just won the Northern California Player of the Year, through 46 touchdowns as a junior.
wow.
And kind of one of my points earlier when I was saying coaches can't flip from running to passing, I got to give it to this coach of this high school in my town. It's not I went to this is my crosstown rival. So, I'm giving this guy props because it's like the crosstown rival I grew up against and played against. This guy went from a 2-back I formation pro team for the last decade. He got this team with that running back and those receivers and that quarterback.
and he went air raid. He went full air raid, and he was slinging it this year, and took him all the way to state. So he's got that team has one more year, thank God, because my son is playing for my alma mater, which is the crosstown rival. And next year they'll probably get us, but after that, where my son will have 2 more years of varsity. Luckily they'll be gone, and maybe the momentum can shift back to my side of it.
I was just kind of always good that running back that you had that last year you coached with the T-Birds.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
hasn't grown much. He's like still 5'7",
Okay.
170 pounds.
So
So
I was kind of curious. He's just watching his film on that. I was like, he might be a kid to keep an eye on, in high school.
yeah, well, the quarterback already signed to play baseball. He's more of a baseball kid. He's probably about 5'10", but I mean, he might get some looks now. I mean, he's slinging it.
Right.
But yeah, John Ben, the running back, he'll if he gets recruited, it'll be corner, unfortunately. But he's starting both ways. He's not bad.
Right.
He's above average running back. He's going to do fine, but he's just, recruiting wise, 5'7", 170 pounds. You're not even going to get a look,
Yeah.
So unless he ran a 4.4, which unfortunately he doesn't. But yeah,
Whitewater,
I mean,
in D3
what's that?
schools will take. I said in D3
no,
schools.
yeah, I mean, and yeah, he's a kid. He's an egoless kid. So if he gets a D2 offer, he'll be more than happy to take it, as he should, right? Like, who cares? But
I know some.
but yeah, just
D3s that'll
size
take him
wise.
right now.
Gotcha. I was
Yeah,
kinda
just size
curious.
wise. That's all. But yeah, I meant to do an update. I'm gonna go interview those kids and throw up some of their film, because I did want to kind of do where are they now, because since that team did so well
Yeah.
right now, and they're, like I said, that school went from a running team to a throwing team as soon as they hit varsity. So it's a pretty cool story, actually.
Well, before I don't know if you see this, but here, just say hi before you leave. He just popped in here.
Who's that?
Coach Jolly.
Oh, Jolly. Where the heck
A
is the
little
park?
later.
Where is he? I don't see him on my screen.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, there's the black screen. There. What's
Sorry,
up, Jolly?
I gotta fix myself. Sorry, man.
Get Hardwick on here next time too, dude.
I texted him. He said he had a basketball game. He's doing a game.
Yeah, he's about retired. That guy's on easy street now.
Yeah, he is.
All right, fellas, I gotta roll. My wife's waiting for me to get
Yeah.
into this dinner. But it's good catching up, y'all.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Oh, listen out on that.
Well,
What's
yeah,
up, guys?
Jolly. We were about right when you popped in. We were all kind of almost saying our goodbyes.
Oh man, sorry I missed it, man. I totally
No, it's
forgot.
okay. It's okay. You got anything before we? You got a couple things you want to talk about before we do call it a night, because it's getting kind of late here.
No, what'd you guys talk about? Your seasons and stuff?
Oh man, we really didn't have an agenda for tonight. It was kind of just, Fawn here wanted to talk installation, so we talked a little bit of installation. Talked to Coach Beatty wanted to talk about like splits for the linemen and zones, so we just kind of touched on that and just kind of see how everyone was doing. So speaking of which, how are you doing? How you been?
Good, man. I posted. I got bumped up to varsity as OC, so I'm looking forward to starting that in the spring. So
Look at you! Congratulations,
Yeah,
man.
I mean, it seems
You-
like a lot. I think that's happened a lot in our
You
group.
you joined me now in the high school
Yeah.
ranks now.